Hey, Vision Tech nerds. I have to step out for just a little bit, but I wanted to remind you of some great basics as you are taking your pictures. First thing I want to remind you of is controlling your frame. And guys, making your picture vertical up and down by turning your device up and down really limits your frame. And it really only should be done if you're trying to correct or create vertical lines. If not, you need to keep your horizontal plane with your device. Otherwise, you're losing control of your picture. Remember that we can always crop and edit, and which we're going to come to coming up very soon. So let's kind of do a quick review. I want to remind you about light pictures, and this is Josh Peterson's picture. You are not taking a picture of the light. You're taking a picture of what the light does to the subject matter of your picture. And this is a great picture of light, how light is effective, because as we're looking up this, we see incredible light, shadow, shaft, and the composition of this picture lets us see lines, directions, angles. It's really interesting and visually stimulating. And that's what you need to have is a picture where light creates interest. This picture, remember I showed you this. This is Kai Shugren's picture. Reason that it's a nice, strong picture is one, it does a lot of things well. First of all, it uses rule of thirds. This is where your eye goes, that bright pop of color of that vase. And he puts it in a nice position, but it's what the color and the composition of the light do that's also powerful. Look at the color. It's that rich, warm yellow, and how there's these nice shards of light that go in through the window, and yet you've got this nice reflection too. It intensifies the color. It's warm. It's golden. That's a nice use of light, and then we've got this contrast of shadow in the depth. Other things. Use of light. One of the things I've noticed about some of your pictures that you guys are taking is you don't have subject matter in the picture. What are you taking a picture of? You need to concentrate on a subject and then see how the light affects it. Here is a great example. So this is Miss Elise Nelson, and she's clearly got her subject matter. Look at how she positions that subject matter in a nice rule of thirds position. But this is her picture of light. I mean, she does a lot with the composition as well. She pays attention to detail and frame. But look at how that light plays upon our subject matter, creating both depth and shadow. And there's that nice contrast of color. Guys, nice picture. Keep in mind what you're trying to do. Have something you're taking a picture of. Angles and perspectives. Remember that you're trying to create something interesting. And I really like this picture, but again, there's some things I would change. One, notice how she takes this vertically. It needs to be flipped horizontally. Second of all, position this bike in an angle in a rule of thirds, and then use this great reflection, because she's got great focus here. Use this reflection to capture something of interest. Maybe a self-portrait, for example, or because she could have used a tripod and then created that. Remember to use your tools to make your pictures better. Again, angles and perspectives. It's not you changing the angles and perspective. It's how you let us see the subject matter different based on angles and perspectives. And what's your subject matter? So he's got this great composition of these rows of cars that are like these pops of color in his horizontal frame. And notice that he's down low when he's taking this picture, because here's really the horizontal line, the line of the street, but he's using it to create this great reflection in the water to capture that unique angles and perspectives. Notice there's even no skyline here, and that's okay, because this almost becomes our skyline for us. That's a nice view change. He flips it up and makes us see our subject matter different, which is what a good angles and perspectives picture should do. And maybe that's all I've got, guys. I wanted to show you a nice rule of thirds. I've got, let me look for real quick. Peyton's rule of thirds. No, not what I was looking for. Well, I'm not really sure what I did with it, folks. Let me see if I can find something for you real quick. Here I'm thinking about rules of thirds for you. And remember, that's got to do with positioning your subject matter and then creating composition around it. Let me pull from 214. Okay, so here's a lot of rule of thirds pictures. Let me think if I see one that I really like. Well, here we go. Here's Miss Payton. There. Okay, so here's what's neat about this picture. I mean, it's, look where your eye goes immediately to that contrasting pop of yellow in the picture. And she literally positioned that. That's just a little mum that she's pulled and placed it in. But what's nice is that of how she's captured it. Rule of thirds position. Notice, remember, we talked about composition when we have lines that draw your eye. Look at this clear vertical line and pathways that draw our eye. And again, contrast of color. Great intensity of color, great focus. She's got this, she creates that depth and angle. It's just a nice rule of thumbs picture. It's very pleasing to our eye. And that's what a good rule of thirds picture will do. For us, what I want you to think about is, again, what are you trying to capture? What are you trying to take a picture of? This is tougher than you might think. You need great subject matter. Jim Richardson always says, if you want to take a better picture, put yourself in front of better things. What are you trying to take a picture of? What kind of interest, depth does it create for us? Does it clearly give us something of interest to look at? That's what we want. So let's look at some angles and perspectives pictures again, because this is, I think, the toughest area for kids to kind of grasp and see. This is kind of interesting. I'll use this picture. This is an interesting angles and perspectives picture. There's some flaws I have in it. One, it's taken vertically, which again, but it works a little bit better with this picture because the subject matter is long and tall. I would encourage you to try to take things vertically because we have the things that we could, or horizontally because we have the ability to edit. But what's nice about this is the composition and reflection. But that is a nice change when you're trying to capture angles and perspectives. Let me see if I can find from 2012. Would help if I can type. Well, I'm still pulling my 214 stuff. I'm not seeing what I'm looking for here, folks. I like the color in this picture. It does a lot of things right. One, the fact that it's horizontal. Two, that you've got this great contrast of color, that you change the perspective. The only bad thing is that there's a lack of composition around it. It would have been really nice if he'd have changed his angle a little bit and tried to rework the surrounding composition. Remember, the difference between a good picture and a great picture is, yes, you meet some of the criterion that makes a good picture, but you put it all together in an interesting way. That means sometimes you wait, sometimes you have to use external lighting, sometimes you have to move or change your position or recapture. And guys, you've got to have something that you want to take a picture of. So when we're out looking and investigating, keep in mind it's your job to be visual and to move and think and look and try to see the world differently and let us see the world differently as well. Good luck.